Welcome back, everyone. Please be seated so that we can begin with our next technical session. Good afternoon. So now we are beginning with the technical session 2 on the theme Artificial Intelligence and Big Data Research and Application. The first talk of the session is from Liuqing Chen, professor from Zhang University, China. The presentation is titled as Data-Driven Design Creativity Engine. Professor, if you're online, kindly switch on your video.
Hi everyone. I'm sorry there's a problem about my camera, so maybe I can only use the microphone.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Dear friends, it's my honor to participate in the second SCO Young Scientists Conclave. Today, my talk is about Data-Driven Design Creativity Engine. First, please allow me to give a short introduction about myself. I'm now working at Zhejiang University as a ZGU 100 Young Professor. My research interests include design creativity, AI for design, AR and VR, human and computer interaction. More information can be found in my university homepage. Creativity plays an important role in the conceptual design process. Designers need creativity methods to provide them with stimuli and inspirations. Here are some common design creativity methods, such as brainstorming, which you may use it frequently in a workshop. Some are problem-solving oriented methods, such as morphological analysis and trees. We will take Scamper as an example. This method consists of 7 letters, and each one represents a way to augment our creativity. Let's take S as a case. S means substitute. When applying the substitute approach, we can use circle instead of rectangle in the packing design of fruit drink. Recently, we proposed a framework called Creativity Diamond. It incorporates fundamental principles to guide creativity, and then selects and refines ideas towards a convergence. This Creativity Diamond framework can be used in any domain to prompt the choice of an appropriate creativity method. In the Creativity Diamond, we take design needs or problems as input and go through the diamond with divergent thinking and convergent thinking in the ideation process. During this process, we can apply different thinking cards, such as analogy and morphological analysis, as shown in the right side. With the prosperity of digitalization, big data has shown its high value. In design creativity research, we found the high connection between associative thinking and creativity. Based on this, creative ideas can be generated by mining the implicit connection between two distinct concepts. For example, in a network full of concepts, an idea of egg-like lamp can be formed by following the path between egg and lamp. To fully exploit the power of big data, a creativity engine called B-Link is developed. In this engine, a knowledge base containing more than 3 million keywords is established. 3 creativity mining algorithms are implemented. which is applied together with the semantic network for mining and visualizing implicit creative knowledge. B-Link works as shown here. It has three functions: explore, search path, and cluster. You can scan this code or visit the link to try our tool online. This tool has also been introduced in a massive open online courses named edX. Take this free course if you are interested. We further upgraded the creativity engine, which is called Liuqing. In this tool, we constructed the dataset by connecting more than 6 million articles from Wikipedia with a coverage of 13 categories. The edges in Liuqing integrate two kinds of weights: semantic weights and statistical weights, which can better reflect the relation between two nodes with the updated algorithms. The nodes in Liuqing are extracted from an article's title, may text, see also, and categories, as shown in the graph. The concept retrieval rate of Liuqing outperforms other concept databases, including ConceptNet and WordNet, in our experiment. The statistic weight in an edge of Liuqing can be computed based on the statistical co-occurrence of two nodes in an article, while the semantic weight can be calculated on the basis of semantic similarity of two nodes, where word vectors are used to represent the meaning of each node. Liuqing has two knowledge retrieval modes. Our case studies shows its effectiveness of retrieving cross-disciplinary concepts. Bio-inspired design aims to help designers obtain inspirations, either functional or aesthetical, from nature. There are some bio-inspired design tools, but they are inefficient to retrieve knowledge, and the knowledge bases are often unstructured. Therefore, we propose AskNatureNet, which takes advantages of AskNature's cases and semantic networks for biological knowledge retrieval. Here is the graph showing our methodology. We employ the GPT-3 model to automatically summarize three types of biological knowledge: source, benefits, and application, which are further structured as a biological semantic network for exploring biological inspirations. There are two creative modes in AskNatureNet. One is problem-driven, in which users follow a retrieval manner from application to benefits to source. Another mode is solution-driven, in which users start from biological source and retrieve knowledge in a reversed way. AskNatureNet is an easy-to-use bio-inspired design creativity engine. It provides a visualized interface and implements advanced models to discover the hidden connections between biological source to potential applications. We will put this tool available online and release its database soon. Taking the advantage of big data and artificial intelligence, creativity can be promoted in a more efficient and enhanced way. Thanks for listening to my talk. Now I would like to answer your questions.
Our next talk is from Manjari Kiran. She is an assistant professor from University of Hyderabad, India.
Hello
The
everyone.
talk is titled as machine learning based models to discover prognostic biomarkers and genetic interactions in gliomas. Ma'am, if you are in person, kindly raise your hand and the camera will capture you.
Hello everyone, I am Manjari Kiran from Department of Systems and Computational Biology, School of Life Sciences, University of Hyderabad. I would first like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to present my research interest and ongoing work on machine learning based models to discover prognostic biomarkers and genetic interactions in gliomas. Glioma is the most common brain cancer of adults. Despite surgery, chemotherapy, and radiotherapy, less than 10% of patients survive beyond 5 years. One of the major advancements in the recent classification of glioma is the inclusion of molecular markers such as isoscetate dehydrogenase mutation in classification. Patients harboring IDH mutant show better survival and belong to grade 2 and grade 3, also known as low-grade gliomas, whereas patients with wild-type IDH are more critical and show poor prognosis, also known as glioblastoma or grade 4. Complete elimination of tumor mass by surgery is not possible because of highly complex and infiltrate nature of gliomas. Therefore, glioma presents a critically high unmet clinical need for effective therapeutics and biomarker discovery. During my postdoc at University of Virginia, we have worked on several biomolecules which can be biomarker for glioma patients. Long non-coding RNAs are transcript longer than 200 bases long with almost no coding potential. Link 0152 and Drake are some of the long non-coding RNAs which were characterized and associated with the lower grade glioma patient survival during my postdoc. We have also identified a set of 8 long non-coding RNA which can be used as prognostic signature for lower grade gliomas. Germline variants and also extracellular circular DNA can be used as biomarker for gliomas and many other cancer. So we have used a statistical model and regularization approach to identify set of long non-coding RNA which can predict survival in lower grade. For that, we have used the TCGA dataset, which has mostly Caucasian population patients, and a Chinese glioma genome atlas dataset. The TCGA dataset was divided into training set and validation set, and we have used Cox regression, which is a statistical method to identify association between a variable and survival of the patients, controlling for the confounding factors. After obtaining prognostic long non-coding RNA, we have used lasso regularization to find a set of long non-coding RNA, the combined expression of which can define patient into low risk and high risk. So using this risk score, we were able to classify patient into high risk and low risk, not just in training dataset, but also in unseen test dataset obtained from CGGA. And when the patients were ranked from low risk to high risk, we could see that there are more number of patients with death status, and also the low expression of link RNA in these patients suggests that these long non-coding RNA are associated with poor survival of the patient. So they can be called as good. The low expression of link RNA is associated with poor survival of the patient, so they are good prognostic biomarker. So this is about low-grade gliomas. What about glioblastoma? So I was unable to find any good prognostic signature for glioblastoma, probably because of less number of patients in the TCG data set, or because of the aggressiveness of this disease. So in my current lab at University of Hyderabad, I'm using an approach where I'm trying to identify sex-biased prognostic genes in glioblastoma by using interaction term between gene expression and gender of the patient. Using Cox regression with the interaction term, I'm able to identify many sex-biased prognostic genes which show association with survival of male and female glioblastoma patient. There are more genes associated with poor survival of male patient compared to the female patient. Upon gene set enrichment analysis of these genes, we identified that genes regulated by PPR gamma activation increase the risk in female patient. So this is a new hypothesis which we are testing in our lab, and this could be interesting hypothesis which can be later validated along with collaboration with other lab. And the other project in the lab is to develop multi-class classifier for genetic interaction prediction in GBM. So there are two types of genetic interaction prediction we are interested in. One is synthetic lethal, another one is synthetic viable. So in synthetic lethal mutation of both the genes leads to the cell death. In synthetic viable, mutation of both the genes leads to cell viability. We are taking experimental data set from CGI-DB and BioGrid, and we are mapping it onto the brain tissue specific protein-protein interaction network. We are obtaining network properties of all these pairs obtained by CGI-DB and BioGrid, and these features are fed into random forest, which is a very efficient machine learning method to develop multiple decision trees and merge them together to get a more accurate prediction. Random forest can be used for both classification and regression purpose, and as you can see that we are able to predict SLSV and not with 77% accuracy. So one such example identified by our multi-class classifier is the association between TP53 and KRAS, where we show that patient harboring mutation in genes TP53 and KRAS show better survival compared to the unaltered group, suggesting that what our model is predicting it as synthetic lethal is actually a synthetic lethal. Similarly, we found PRKG1 and MyoCD gene as to be synthetic viable, and it shows that patient harboring mutation in these two genes have worse survival, probably because the viability of tumor cell compared to the unaltered group. So this probably could be in future good for targeted therapeutics for gliomas. So the problem what we have been talking about is that there are no approved biomarkers of glioma for clinical practice, and this is because of lack of annotated data, poor data quality and integrity, and data imbalance. If you look at the published literature, most of the studies related to prognostic signature are from China and United States, and few are from other countries. And most of these studies on prognostic signature and markers are based on the Cancer Genome Atlas, comprising of Caucasian population and the Chinese Genome Atlas. But if you look at the market in the Asia Pacific, it is anticipated to register an above growth rate during the forecast period, owing to relatively high patients population demanding affordable care and improvement in healthcare infrastructure to aid in the early diagnosis in malignant gliomas. Also, there exists racial and socioeconomic disparity in surgical management of brain tumors. So one of the study from University of Minnesota has shown that doctors usually recommend surgery for only American Indians or Alaskan Native population, but patients from Asia or from Hispanic background are not recommended for surgery. So there is extreme need for affordable therapeutics or extreme need for early prognosis of these patients. So for that, I look forward for possible collaboration with SCO Nation using artificial intelligence in glioblastoma in the era of personalized medicine, where from the available data set, if you can have, you can see the problem, there are only few representation from Asian population. If we can collect data from the neighboring countries and we can correctly label them, we can minimize the noise in our training data set, and by providing high diversity of the patient representation from different countries with high quantity and high number, we can develop a better model and with better accuracy and specificity, which can be tested in our own patient data set. And why we should do that is because there is limited data set from Asian Pacific population. What we can do is we can improve the prognosis of GBM using AI and ML, and how we can do is by considering the 5C approach, which is by first considering this idea to collaborate, and by collecting the information and communicating it by setting up consortia. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for listening to my talk, and I'm ready for the question. This is my lab in at University of Hyderabad. We primarily work on cancer genomics and RNA biology. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manjari Kiran. I would like to reiterate that all the questions pertaining to this session will be taken at the end of the session. Moving on to our next talk. The next talk is from Zhang. He's a tech manager from China Huizhang Clean Energy Research Institute. The title of the presentation is Application of AI and Big Data in the Field of Renewable Energy. Zhang, if you are online, I request you to please switch on your video. Hello. Thank you.
Hello everyone, it's my great honor to give this talk, Applications of AI and Big Data in the Field of Renewable Energy. My name is Zhang. Currently, I'm working at the China Huaneng Clean Energy Research Institute as a technical manager. My major work is to realize the digital transformation of industrial and develop applications of AI and big data technology. Let me briefly introduce my research institute. It, established in 2010, is mainly engaged in technology research and development, key equipment development, and project implementation in the fields of new energy, coal-based clean power generation and conversion. The total number of staff is more than 400. The average age is 34 years old, and the doctors account for 47%. Before I illustrate AI and big data applications, I will show you the relationship between them, as shown in the figure. In my talk, meteorological data, oceanographic data, power data, and the price data together form the big database to support AI applications, which called wind and solar resource mapping, high-accuracy forecasting technology for meteorological and oceanographic data. Centralized power forecast of renewable energy, power trading technology in spot market. Now let's start from wind and solar resource mapping. Let's see the first two technologies, mesoscale numerical weather prediction and macroscale computational fluid dynamics simulation. Both of them are traditional methods. The data assimilation method here is mainly used to effectively combine all available observations with a short-term model, forecast field information. Then, we assemble the first three technologies to get the last one. With those four technologies, the high-accuracy wind and solar resource mapping and the planning platform can provide national wind resource data with 200-meter resolution and a long-time series of kilometer-level wind and solar resource data, realizing large-scale resource assessment and efficient planning of wind farms and PV plants. We have four main research results: hour-by-hour mapping products with 10 kilometers horizontal resolution for the last 40 years, hour-by-hour mapping products with 2 kilometers and 200 meters horizontal resolution for the last 5 years, 19 altitude levels with vertical coverage of 10 to 300 meters, a multidimensional visual interactive system. The second application is high-accuracy forecasting technology for meteorological and oceanographic data. Let me talk about this architecture. On the basis of coupling model, real-time coupling among atmosphere, ocean, and wave simulation are carried out by utilizing the meteorological mode, the oceanographic mode, and the wave mode. At the same time, continuous simulation of wind field is applied by the weather research and forecasting model, and then the coupled system based on coupler is established. This technology aims to address the challenges in wind, wave, flow, ice, tide, forecasting, and coupled forecasting by developing and integrating novel forecasting methods and technologies. An integrated environment forecasting platform for offshore wind power is being established and is designed to provide customized and high-resolution forecasting data services to support various applications, including power prediction, power trading, disaster early warning, and window period management for offshore wind farms in the Eastern Marine area. Let's take a look at the technical roadmap of centralized power prediction. First, select a station to obtain high-dimensional data. Carry out data cleaning and governance. Extract data features and model based on multi-time and multi-space scale. And finally, output wind power prediction. We build the three-level power prediction system as a group of Huaneng, the regional company, and the station levels, and establish a data management and sharing platform for power prediction to provide data support for intelligent power trading of regional companies. Here comes 3 research results. We provide fundamental data support for renewable energy station planning and design, energy efficiency analysis, power prediction, power trading, production and operation. We establish a prediction system with multiple data sources and algorithms. We provide customized power forecasting optimization technology services to meet the assessment methods and the power market trading rules in various provinces. We develop a platform for power trading in spot market and established a decision-making model for trading assistance, combined with improvement of wind power prediction, configuration of energy storage optimization, and the flexible control of energy storage. Form a comprehensive solution for renewable energy participation in electricity trading, and improved the accuracy of electrical power price prediction. The platform for power trading in spot market has been put into operation in Shanxi province. After introducing those 4 applications, I chose the forecasting method to focus on, because it has appeared in all 4 applications. There are 3 main categories of forecasting methods: time series, regression, and ensemble methods. The main methods of time series including STL, ARIMA, and profit. For example, STL, the full name is seasonal trend and loss, is a filtering method that can decompose time series into trend term, seasonal term, and residual term. Regression methods include the decision tree, random forest, XGBoost, neural network. The ensemble method, sometimes experts combine several methods together to get better results. AI technology has broad application prospects in the field of renewable energy. For example, computer vision will apply this technology to find the cracks of fan blades, to find the faults of PV panels, to predict staff behavior to ensure their safety. That's all for today's talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Zhang. Let's move on to our next presentation. Our next presenter is Rybka Roman Borisovich from National Research Center Kurchatov Institute from Russia. The presentation is titled as Neural Network Methods for Extracting Pharmaceutically Significant Information from Drug Reviews of Internet Users.
Dear colleagues, my name is Roman Rybka, and I present results of our group from National Research Center Kurchatov Institute. The topic of my report is neural network methods for extracting pharmaceutically significant information from drug reviews that were published on the internet. The internet contains a lot of information about user experience and their reactions to different events and processes. In the case of healthcare, this information is useful for the pharmacovigilance purposes, including reprofiling of medications. The purpose of this study is to create a solution for analyzing drug reviews in Russian that were published by internet users. The main functions of this solution are recognition of pharmaceutically significant name entities, the NER task, extraction of relation between recognized entities, the relation extraction task, matching of user mentions of entities to standard medical terminology, the normalization task. The key point here is availability of texts with gold annotation for each of these tasks. We used Russian drug reviews corpus. In this corpus, name entities are categorized into 20 types of different name entities that are grouped into 3 classes: medication, disease, and adverse drug reaction. User I used other acronym. Medication describes drugs mentions with several attributes: drug classes, drug forms, release forms, and other. Disease describe mentions of disease, symptoms, course of disease, and other attributes related to disease. Other defines mentions of the adverse effects. In total, 3,800 reviews were manually annotated. The RDRS corpus contained more than 147,000 mentions of name entities, including near 5,000 mentions of the other class. That is most significant for practical needs. The annotations were made by professional experts using Web system. The RDRS contains 2 parts: main part and additional part. Text of reviews for main part were randomly selected from a huge amount of drug reviews. For experiments, we divided this part on 5 folds. Additional part was used like extension to the main part. Reviews in this part were filtered by the presence of other mentions. In this study, we used 4 types of relationships between entities, which are interesting from the practical point of view. Other drug name relation determines the adverse effects of the particular medication. Drug name sourcing for drug determines the source of information about medication. For example, my brother gave me advice, or somebody recommended me this medication. Drug name disease name determines the medication that used against a specific disease. And the last one, disease name indication determines the symptoms of the specific disease. For example, red rash, high temperature, and so on. The statistic of this corpus you can see on the right table of this slide. For the name entity recognition and relation extraction tasks, we create 2 different pipelines that are based on deep language models. The first pipeline implements a sequential approach in which one neural network is used for token classification, NER task, and another network determines if there is a relation between the 2 recognized entities. The second pipeline solves NER and relation extraction tasks with a single neural network. This joint neural network, right picture, classifies sets of the tokens, spans, for recognizing name entities and pair of spans for the relation extraction task. The evaluation of the implemented approaches are presented on this slide. How we can see on the top table, both pipelines achieve similar results of the end-to-end relation extraction task. But for the NER task, the joint solution demonstrates significant improvement in accuracy. The normalization task is aimed at establishing a correspondence between user mentions of entities and standard medical terminology. The RDRS contain annotations of other and indication mentions in terms of MEDRA. MEDRA is a medical dictionary for regulatory activities. It has a hierarchical structure and includes near 80,000 terms from different levels. We focus on preferable term level that contain near 25,000 of terms. The examples of the gold annotation are shown at the bottom of the slide. As the basis of the normalization method for the Russian language, we use a metric learning approach. The difference between the written styles of user mentions and of medical concepts are taken into account by using different language models as part of the whole neural network. Mention vectorization model and concept vectorization model. Weights of the mention vectorization model are trained additionally. The most relevant concept for the analyzed mention is the closest concept vector to the mention vector by the cosine measure. For training vectorization model, we used additional dataset artificially created using English corpora with normalization labels. These corpora were translated into Russian language with Google Translate service. The compression results of various configurations of normalization model are presented in the below table. In the conclusion, I would like to summarize my report. The main results of this work are the corpus of labeled drug reviews written in Russian by internet users, the model for jointly solving the problems of name entity recognition and relation extraction based on span classification approach, and the model for normalizing mentions of adverse drug reaction and symptoms to concept from the preferable term level. More information can be found in our articles. The RDRS corpus source codes of our solution and neural network models are publicly available on the internet. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for the interesting talk. Moving on to our next speaker, Fedorchenko Elena Vladimirovna, a senior researcher from SPC-RAS, Russia. The talk is titled as Intelligent Methods for Security Assessment and Response to the Cyber Security Incidents in the Critical Infrastructures. If you're in the audience, could you please raise your hand? Thank you.
Please forgive us for mispronouncing your names.
Good morning. My name is Elena Fedorchenko. I am senior researcher of the Laboratory of Computer Security Problems of the St. Petersburg Federal Research Center of the Russian Academy of Sciences, and I will present the research devoted to the intelligent methods for security assessment and response to the cybersecurity incidents in the critical infrastructures. I will start from the brief introduction, then I'll go to the problem statement, to the methodology. I'll briefly describe the common approach and the obtained results. Let me start from the motivation of my research. Currently, there is a trend to digitalization of critical infrastructures. While security is highly relevant for such systems, number of detected vulnerabilities in such infrastructures, as well as number of successful attacks, increase. Possible solution is development of the perspective security assessment and response system. Currently, security monitoring systems gather large volumes of the security-related data. Processing and analysis of such data is a challenging task implemented using intelligent methods. But currently, such methods lack explainability and objectivity that limits taking efficient security decisions, as well as they lack operational efficiency that limits taking timely decisions. As solution for this challenge, the method based on knowledge graph can be used. Thus, I specified the following research problem: development of the intelligent methods for security assessment and response to the cybersecurity incidents in the critical infrastructures based on the ontology connecting heterogeneous security-related data, data objects and subjects, and atomic and highly informative security metrics. The goal of this research is decreasing the losses from cyber attacks via timely cyber attacks detection, comprehensive and complex security assessment, and supporting of explainable security decisions in real time. To achieve the goal, the following methodology is used: analysis of heterogeneous security-related data and their interrelations, development of intelligent methods for security data processing, analysis of security metrics, algorithms, and models for their calculation, development of analytical and semantic models for security assessment and response and methods for their generation, development of techniques and algorithms for security assessment and response, and finally development and implementation of the system for security assessment and response. Finally, the common approach is developed. The core of the proposed approach is the ontology. Based on the security standards, regulations, and checklists, the set of security assessment and response questions is specified, as well as appropriate objects and subjects of the subject area, data sources and metrics and relations between them. These data are used to generate the named ontology of the security assessment and response. It is filled using the dynamical and conditional static data from internal and external sources, processed using artificial intelligence methods. Obtained knowledge graph is used as the basis for inference of equations for metrics calculation, for the security assessment and security decision support. Let me provide some details on the used methods. On the first stage, the standards and regulations and security checklists are used to specify security tasks and appropriate security questions, as well as involved security objects and subjects and their interrelations, and data sources to answer the security questions. On this stage, system analysis methods are used, as well as expert knowledge, that are usual approach for the ontology generation. On the second stage, the list of data sources and data specifications are analyzed, and data parsing and machine learning based methods are developed to generate scripts for data processing, as well as models for future data analysis. On the third stage, the standards and regulations are used to outline the security metrics to answer the security-related questions, related objects and subjects, data sources, and possible calculation methods. On the fourth stage, the specified tasks, related security questions, objects and subjects, data sources, and metrics are used to generate the ontology. On the fifth stage, the machine learning methods and analytical modeling are used to generate the models, to fill the ontology concepts, and obtain the knowledge graph. The specific methods depend on the concept. For example, to fill the value for the attacker skills metric, K-means and LSTM methods are used. To fill the attack concepts, the random forest method is used, and so on. Finally, on the sixth stage, the logical inference, decision support, and logical inference methods are used to get equations for metrics and answers for the security questions. The developed system is based on the developed approach and methods of the big data processing. Currently, some components are external to the developed prototype. I mean the components related to models training. To conclude, the proposed solution is based on the last development in the artificial intelligence area. It should be noticed that the core ontology can and should be extended with primary and integral security metrics. Main features of the proposed solutions are explainability and therefore objectivity of metrics, and explainability of the security decisions to the nature due to the nature of the ontology. Future research will be devoted to the development and testing the use cases to validate that the goal is achieved. Thank you for your attention, and I am ready to answer your questions.
Thank you for the talk. Moving on to the next speaker, Yakshiboyeva Gulbakhor Oybek Kizi. She is the Dean of International Faculty and Assistant of Professor in Medical IT in Andijan State Medical Institution, Uzbekistan. The title of the talk is Artificial Intelligence in Polyclinics. If you are in the audience, could you please raise your hand? Thank you.
Good morning, dear friends. Today I want to tell about artificial intelligence in medical field in polyclinics. As you know, artificial intelligence is a really huge area. That's why we chose the purpose of this project is developing basic use of narrow artificial intelligence. And at the beginning of this project, we saw that artificial intelligence is one of the future for different areas of medicine, and we chose 4 areas: surgery, nursing, administration, and drug development, radiology, research, and risk management. But the most difficult field, it was administration work, and that's why we chose administration work in the small field. In the first step, it was polyclinics. When we observed polyclinics, we saw shortcomings such as lack of high technology medical equipment, because visitors, it is only visitors, they are not patients mostly, and also paperwork, huge number of paperwork, long line of waiting, lack of appointment system, and a disproportion between the number of the patient and doctors. And that's why it was created different problems with paperwork or changing or making mistakes between analysis. And we did observation about visitors in the polyclinic areas. A huge number of percentage, it was in children, old people, pregnant people, and other, it was a little bit less than other field. And also, according to the 3 years we did, mostly in this year, in these years we took December and January, because of the weather, most people, visitors of the polyclinics, they canceled their check-up time. That's why we took mostly this period. You can see in this slide, according to the 6th field, we did observation in the 3 years. And after this all survey, we understood that artificial intelligence, it is really necessary and helpful for not only for visitors, for also workers of this system. Why? Just doctor or the nurse wanted to do everything on time. Yes, we know that single calls or message by email may be easy, but the visitor cannot answer to the call, or message cannot be sent to the necessary email, or it can be in the spam. That's why we saw that additional we can do automatic version of something which will be helpful not only for the doctors, for visitors also. That's why we offered the system, and according to this system, the opportunity of working will be increased and the risk will be decreased. In this case, the patient doesn't have to wait in a line for the primary analysis, saves their time and avoids mistakes. The procedure of the system starts from the period of pregnancy. After a pregnant woman is registered for examination, the day of the first examination is set, and the next examination plan is made based on this. And the patient is attached to the database with a personal number. With the help of the database, after sending a warning letter to the patient about the examination, what kind of examination he or she should undergo and which doctor should see is checked through the site with a personal number. A patient visiting a polyclinic submits primary blood and urine tests with the help of a robot, which we wanted to add, and also receive the result after a short period of time. We know that administration work is one of the most difficult, which we mentioned before, and the artificial intelligence system will be helpful for them. And the day-to-day administrative tasks will be minimized, and the mistakes will also be minimized. Analysis and accuracy also will be decreased. We can see in the polyclinics mostly many visitors, number of many visitors. Analysis also can be mixed. And why we saw that not humanity, why artificial intelligence, here you can see advantages of artificial intelligence when we compare with humanity. Currently, if the biggest problem is the lack of specialists, we can solve it with the help of the proposed technical special person. But we face it with another problem, that is the lack of specialists who can work with these technological tools. This is another matter. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, requirements, suggestions, I'm ready to get your point of view.
Thank you for the talk. Now we will move on to the question answer session of this technical session. For the online participants, just type in your questions in the chat box and our AV team will relay the questions to us. For the in-person speakers, please raise your hand and we will get to you with the mic. Any questions for this session?
I have the question for the first report. It was Liuqing Chen. And I have seen on your slides the information about mining. Could you clarify about design for mining, or maybe I didn't understand something correctly? Do you use these for mining?
Yes, we use the shortest path algorithm, and basically based on that algorithm, and we optimize that algorithm to search a path through a node to another node. This is the basics behind that.
Thank you. And could you tell, is it similar for the programs like Micromine or Mindframe?
There's a difference there. Our algorithm focus on mining the connection between two nodes and use the shortest path to use the shortest path algorithm and the weight between two nodes to determine which one is the most like suitable or the best path through many like paths from one node to another.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Liuqing Chen. The next
No worries.
question.
I have the question for the last report. Have you ever tried to use your technology on real objects or not?
Thanks for the question. Yes, we tried into two areas, into two polyclinics. According to the chart, you can see that in 2024 and 2022, the number of mistakes or other points, it was increased, but in the 23, only in January, it was done. You know, only two areas, it's not enough for this field, because Uzbekistan, it is huge area, and also Andijan, which we did this project, it is really a crowded city, one of the most crowded city. And you know, plus side was really, the result was really different, which even we waited less result, but it was maximum. That's why we wanted to do this analysis not only in one area. We wanted to go to Kyrgyzstan also, Kazakhstan also, in Tajikistan, which is neighborhood. And we wanted to do also this project in the polyclinics. If it will be positive for us, we will add, which we told, robotics, which will help for the simple analysis. Now, in the small areas, yes.
Thank you. And you see that this is a good future for this program, yes?
For the beginning, for the first step, yes. Why polyclinics? Mostly people will go for the help, not even for the result or for the first aid. They will go for getting some checking process. For checkup, it will be really helpful. Doctors will can work in the different areas which will be necessary, their work. Here, robots or artificial intelligence which we will create, it will be helpful.
Thank you. It was interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question?
I have a question to Manjari Kiran. She had very interesting research about cancer gliomas, and I could hear the statement or first idea that main risk for another type of cancer it will be in a group of female. Will that be the topic of your future research where you will implement and make in research in this area after?
Yeah. So this is one of the topic on which we are working in the lab. So since I did not get any good prognostic marker for glioblastoma, I thought most of the patient of glioblastoma, they are males. And if you look at the survival of male glioblastoma patient, it's really poor compared to females. So using Cox regression interaction term, we are trying to identify such genes which show some kind of biasness towards one gender more than the other. So we are able to identify genes which can predict survival in one gender, in one direction compared to the other gender. And PPR gamma pathway came up as the most promising result for us. So in fact, in literature also it is supported that if a male glioblastoma patient, if a diabetic male patient takes insulin, there is a very rare chance of getting glioblastoma. So insulin for a diabetic patient, male patient, helps him or protects him from getting glioblastoma. But the reverse happens in case of female. So if a female diabetic patient takes insulin, there is more chances of getting glioblastoma. So we are trying to see this association between PPR gamma pathway and activation of it, and how it helps males to survive better. And in case of female, it's completely reverse. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Your study and research is really impressive.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a same question to you. Sorry. So it was a nice talk from you. So I just want to know that you tried to look for the non-coding RNAs in the blood. So what was the reason that you choose non-coding RNA? Because there are if they aren't code for anything, so why you look for them? Why not use some other protein biomarkers?
Yes.
That could have been much relevant.
So because of the 8-minute time limit, I did not present the introduction of non-coding RNA. So these RNAs, they are numerous, first of all. They are very cell type and tissue type specific. They are expressed mostly in different condition. So although we have characterized lots of protein coding gene, but non-coding RNAs are not well characterized. So there are yet many non-coding RNAs which needs to be characterized. They are also found in vesicles, exosomes, and in cell-free state. So we think that if one can get data from plasma or from serum or from exosome, you'll be able to get non-coding RNA more than protein coding gene, and that's why, and since it is numerous and cell type is specific, so we think it's a better prognostic marker. So one example of it is PCA, non-coding RNA, which works better than PCA in prostate cancer urine sample. And we think that there are many such non-coding RNA in other cancer also, which can be considered as potential biomarker.
Just want to add to this. Have you ever tried to correlate when those patients, some of the patients who have undergone the surgery, and try to check does your data correlate with the clinical specimens which might have been taken from the patients? Because that can make a correct correlation between your findings.
That's the whole aim. I want to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any online questions? Any other questions from the offline audience?
I have a question to Zhang, as it was a topic about application AI and big data in the field of renewable energy. And you could show that your research group is performing construction of wind wind direction. Do you think this sector for the moment for your country at all is it a scale of whole country where you implement this research, or is just in special regions where it should be implemented? Can you please answer?
Thank you for question. We start from the regional parts, and then we flow, and then we move all the research to the whole country. Yeah, from one spot, like a city area, then we simulate all the wind data results.
So it's not for specific regions, just to analyze the statistic for all country. That is the main purpose.
Finally we move all the analysis to our. We apply the analysis. We apply the simulation to the whole country.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So here we come to the end of our session on the theme Artificial Intelligence and Big Data Research and Application. A big round of applause to all the speakers who have talked today. So we heard from various perspectives about the field from the experts across the 4 different SCO countries. And at this occasion, we would like to invite you all for a very thoughtful discussion on the theme, where we could summarize the insights we gained from our session today, as well as draw parallels between the ongoing research across various countries. We kindly request the speakers from our theme session today to take this stage right now for this discussion, for a thematic discussion. Let me also introduce you all to the chairs of our session, the thematic session. Professor Santosh Ansumali. Professor Santosh Ansumali is a professor at Engineering Mechanics Unit at the Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research, JNCASR, Bangalore. Before him being professor at JNCASR, Dr. Ansumali was an assistant professor between 2005 to 2009 in the Chemical and Biomedical Engineering Department at the Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. He received his PhD from the Institute of Polymer Physics, Department of Materials, ETH Zurich in 2004, and completed his postdoc from the Department of Energy Technology, ETH Zurich in 2005. Dr. Anshumali's research interests include mesoscale stimulation methods, kinetic theory, and high-performance computing. So with all these efforts, it has led to the creation of Sankhya Sutra Laboratory and its multi-physics simulation platform. His work in COVID-19 research and planning was an important starting point for the India supermodel for COVID-19. With this introduction, I would like to welcome Professor Ansumali for chairing this thematic session.
Dr. Sunil Sherlekar is the co-founder and director of Sankhya Sutra Labs. He received his PhD from IIT Bombay in Electronic Design Automation and has been part of the faculty at IIT Bombay for 13 years. Later, he served as the CTO of Saskin Communications for 7 years, before moving on to the Tata Group, where he worked on embedded systems and set up a supercomputing division. Following this, he was a director of parallel computing at Intel for 5 years. From 2015, Dr. Sunil Sherlekar has been at Sankhya Sutra Labs, which has become a part of the Reliance Industries since 2019. During this session, guided by our chairs, we hope to learn from each other the challenges we face in the field of AI and what our respective countries, how we overcome the obstacles of funding and understand from each other. Let us also talk about the unique expertise each of the participating nations have achieved in the field and how we can actively collaborate and help each other. I invite the chairs to take over this session now.
I thank for the nice introduction, and I'm thankful to all the speakers for all the nice talk given in the morning session and in the afternoon session. So what I will do is I will just summarize some of the issues raised, and then I will pass on to Sunil, and then we could have start the discussion among all the participants. It was nice to see that Manjari, raised the issue of data source. Probably we should think about a joint data source for testing new models, and nice to see that that was raised. Initial talk on the rare event tracking or extreme event tracking was also quite nice to see, and a discussion on the new hardware, analog hardwares, whether we can do better than GPU, better energy efficiency and all. And then the other theme which was touched in a nice way was expected utility theory in economics, and the question was raised whether that would have users in other scientific fields too. And I think these were all very important and nice questions. With this, I will hand over Sunil to summarize things and raise the issues for this session.
Thanks for the introduction. So what I would like to do is to list out some ideas that I was jotting down while the session was on. I'll start with talking about the limitations. I'll start with talking about the limitations of machine learning. So there was a paper which mentioned that one machine learning tool was trained to recognize objects in a living room. So tables, chairs, television set, and so on. And it was doing a very good job. Then it was also trained for recognizing elephants in different settings. And it was doing a very good job too. Then they cropped out an elephant image from one forest picture and pasted it in a living room image. Can online speakers switch on their videos? Yeah. So, and then this composite picture was fed to the neural net, and they found that in that picture, it could neither recognize the elephant nor any object in the living room. And nobody knew why. And why did nobody know why? Because nobody knew why it was working in the first place. So that is one of the biggest problems of machine learning. Now let's see if a machine learning trained program makes mistakes, then what are the consequences? So there are kinds of mistakes which don't really matter. So for example, targeted advertisements or targeted marketing, if there's a mistake, the guy would just feel irritated. So it's okay. So that's what Amazon does. Then mistakes which can result in suboptimality. For example, drug screening or screening of materials for new applications, engineering, product design. In this case, if mistakes are made, then maybe you would lose out on some drugs, or you would lose out on drug molecules, or you lose out on some materials. But then that is just a suboptimal solution. That's also not a disaster. Mistakes that can cause inconvenience. For example, if I have an app where I can point out to some buildings nearby and say, where am I? And it may give you a wrong answer, but then that's just inconvenience. Then there is a situation where it can cause disaster. So if you don't predict an earthquake or a cyclone or a tsunami or whatever, and it strikes, that's a problem. So that makes it more complicated. And then it can cause personal tragedies. So if you can, there was a situation, I know this was not due to AI, but where somebody was diagnosed with cancer when the person actually had TB. And the diet and everything is exactly the opposite for both. And then missing a particular serious ailment can be a serious problem. So if you say the person has that ailment, then you can have further diagnosis and say, okay, it doesn't have. But if it says it doesn't have and he actually has, then you are in deep trouble. Okay, so I just listed out where AI can work, where it doesn't work, if it doesn't work, what are the consequences. And therefore, whenever you use AI, there has to be some method by which you use something complementary so that it mitigates the situation where AI makes a mistake. Okay. Now, the two papers which address some interesting problems. One was a paper from IISc about using analog circuits. So that solves an important engineering problem. The other one was about graph neural networks. Yes. So this graph neural network. So if you take these deep learning networks and so on, they are very simplistic graphs. I mean, they are just multi-level bipartite graphs. Whereas that's not how the brain neurons are structured. Their interconnections are very different. And it's very interesting thing to know that it can be figured out using MRIs or whatever. In this connection, I want to mention that Douglas Hofstadter has been saying that we should do AI by mimicking the brain. And he calls it real AI. Yeah, I guess, that's all for now. I'll say something in conclusion later.
Yeah. So now to panelists, they would like to raise anything, questions and discussions.
Okay, so I will start the discussion on my topic that I have presented. So actually, when I started the research in the machine learning or the deep learning area, so thing that I observed that most of the time we are trying to do the prediction or the classification or the forecasting. And the model that we are developing from these techniques, and later on some robotics part is also that connected, that how we will give a brain similar to a human to a robot, so he can also do the same task by looking the environment. But the question came in my mind that means what about the feelings, or what about if the surrounding changes? So that I have searched a lot out that what are the methods in which means emotions and the surrounding conditions are going on. So anyhow, I came across that expected utility theory and perspective utility theory. But these are the originally from the area of the economics or the finance. But somehow I have created the experiment and induced the emotions which are means generated in the person mind when they are playing some a game related to the finance, like they are playing the gambling task, and certain emotions are induced. Then I have recorded the data and simulated the method and done some reinforcement learning kind of thing, and somehow I am getting the difference that person when playing with the different mindset, so he may again means gain a certain amount of extra thing, or when person is playing in the bad mood, so generally he will tries to means move toward the losses only.
Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Yeah. Which are the areas in where the cooperation can happen more between different countries? Maybe speaker's opinion on that would be greatly helpful.
So one thing on the first half also my presentation I was discussing about the natural hazards like the seismicity analysis or from the cyclone based things. My hometown is at Odisha, one part of the India where it is always getting affected by the cyclone. So in 1999 when we had the cyclone, there were almost 2 lakhs people get killed with the cyclone. But in 2019 and 20 there are almost it has the numbers has come down to 54 like that. So means there is very less number of casualties reported because of the collective effect of the administration and the development of tools. So on that particular one, if more things can be done on the collaboration of the AI and machine learning for hyperspectral image analysis and the images taken from the satellite and the natural calamities, then it would be much better from the aspects.
Yeah, so again, same point for me, like how we have for Caucasian population, the Cancer Genome Atlas, and for Chinese population, for gliomas specifically, we have Chinese Glioma Genome Atlas. Similarly, for India also, we are starting in India Genome Cancer Atlas, ICGA, but it's starting from the breast cancer and slowly we will progress to gliomas. So I request, I mean, if there is a possibility of any such collaboration, there should be a data transfer collaboration. If such kind of things are happening in other countries, other SCO nations, and if the data transfer can be done for a collaborative purpose where we can test our model on some other data set, that will be really, really helpful for us.
I agree with previous speakers that my answer on the question about collaboration, that the data is a oil of machine learning, and we say about AI, it is complex of technology, and first of all, it is math and supervised machine learning. So if we use our work is aimed to open our data, open our annotation of our data, it is very high influence to this topic, and it is very simple to us because we don't have some agreement for this. We can use internet and open source platform for our code, for our data, so it is main contribution in this topic.
Thank you. That's a nice.
So I still remember 2015 when this field started booming, and we knew that there were 3 factors that actually pushed this machine learning or AI that we call. The first one was the availability of new algorithms. The second was the data sets that were available. And the third was we have that much of computational resources available to run it. And it's now like 8 years, just 8 years, and we are already reaching the boundaries of computing, right? Like I mentioned in my presentation as well, there are several severe limitations in training algorithms. You can have complex algorithms like GPT-3, that ChatGPT, we're all familiar, 3.5, and GPT-4 is coming. But when you look at the recent paper, they clearly mention that I can do only one iteration or two iteration of training, because the resources required to train those algorithms are so massive that we cannot afford it. Now, if you look in this context of India, this is still a niche area that we have started focusing on the hardware aspect of algorithm instead of just focusing on the algorithm. So we need to focus, I believe that we need to focus on all those things simultaneously, the advancement in algorithm, the data set, as well as hardware computational capability. Because even if one goes down, you're not going to get a boost or boon or the advantages of those algorithms. And there are very few labs in India that works on the actual hardware aspect of the algorithms. In that field, I'm expecting there we could have a lot of collaboration across different SCO countries, because that field is very interdisciplinary. You need to have
Thank you. Please.
Here, artificial intelligence, we all mentioned that this is near future. According to the develop the future, we need a crowded area, many number of like resource. Here, resource is not things or that maybe chair, table, as you mentioned. This is resource is the humanity. That's why for cooperative work, the people will need artificial intelligence right now. Mostly, we should pay attention for this area. Here also I paid attention for what many researchers they paid for the specific field. Why I chose special administration work. In the world, the administration is work is the most difficult and the main purpose, but we forgot sometimes about their work to make their work easy. That's why like to sum up, we have to choose the places where all the sphere will be developed.
Thank you. Say something.
Few words to it. So I want to support the idea about datasets, because I'm working in the information security area, and the datasets problem is crucial for us because it's sensitive data that nobody wants to share, and there are few datasets, but it's really important, and that I want to mention that these datasets should be validated very carefully, because when we are working with them, we can get some incorrect results because of the problems with the dataset itself. And maybe as a decision for collaborative work for different countries, when we don't want to share confidential data with each other about security related to our information security, maybe some frameworks like federated learning frameworks can be evaluated to not to share sensitive data, but work together to get better models.
Thank you.
So one more thing which I want to bring, we don't want machine learning to be like a black box now. We want to understand what the model is. I mean, if the model is predicting good, why it is predicting good, which features are selected, and which features are discriminatory. So I think even if there is a collaboration in that aspect, like we have developed some model, but we need somebody else who is expert in this field to look into the model or work together for this, that also would be really helpful.
Thank you. Any of the online speakers? Would anyone online? Yeah. So maybe you want to say something? Guljada is asking about what about GPT chat? Anyone wants to comment on that? Interesting question. You want to say something?
Well, I haven't used it and I don't know much about it, but the press is doing its usual stuff, hyping it like crazy. Everybody will lose their jobs and there'll be no doctors and no engineers. Some robotic nonsense will run the world and take over and all that. So forget about all that. The earlier also the same anxiety was expressed when banks got computerized. People used to say all banking people will lose their jobs. Today banks can't find enough people to employ. So the same thing will repeat. But yes, it's interesting, and it's important. And you know, the reason this hype is there because people confuse information with knowledge. So they think if you have lots of information, you are knowledgeable, but that's not true. And there's a lot of talk, in fact, about how children today are much smarter. Actually, they are not. They just have more information. So.
You wanted to say something?
Yeah, just I wanted to add one point is that there is a need for collaboration among different experts in the field, like AI and machine learning by itself cannot solve the practical real life problems. We need more people who can help us to apply these algorithms in their respective fields, like seismologist, like your chemist, biotechnologist, because ultimately the results have to be validated by them, that it and they have to be appreciating the practical results what we are getting from our simulation from the things. So the expert domains help will boost the further collaboration and the research. That is what I believe.
So the question was about Chat GPT, right? So there are few things.
Can you be a bit louder?
Okay, so I remember the day Chat GPT was released, and I was very first user to start using it. And then I was shocked the way it can write your codes, the way it can write your articles. It looks like human level feedback. That's the main reason why people are attracted to it. At the back end, it's simply an NLP model that has been trained by the knowledge till 2021 that is available on the internet, nothing else. And wait till the time when ChatGPT 4 is released and then see how the people reaction is. But one good thing about ChatGPT is now several of certain, it's not just one thing to add before that, it's not just ChatGPT. There are 21 or 27 such platforms available, AI Sonic, and there are different available platforms. It's just that the responses that you get from the ChatGPT is very much human-like. So it feels like the responses are good. Recently, Google also announced they will release their Lambda chat box, and then different countries also allows they will release their. So it's actually good that it has created a kind of competition in the market, that not just Chat GPT, there are several similar stuffs are going to come. Now it will start forcing human to think a bit different, like traditional thinking. So in a way, we can consider it like a growth of human as well as a growth of machine if we want to survive. That's like one point I could add.
Maybe we should ask audience. Yeah.
Yeah, as I want to share the experience, for example, how it's going in Kazakhstan, Ministry of Education and Science. For the moment, it is already developed the manual for new specialties that will face a new reality to especially for the this challenge of GPT chat also. And like that we already have formed several new specialities to face new realities. I think that that is a good opportunity for all governmental institutions also. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to add something? If not, let's ask Sunil to conclude.
Yeah, so thanks the organizers, the speakers and the audience again. There was some talk about creating a data pool. That's a very good idea. For medicine, For example, in India, we have this, Ayushman Bharat. So there'll be a huge data pool available for every patient in the country. It can be anonymized and used. So if other countries have a similar system, then one can exchange data using that. And exchanging data and having a commonly available pool of data will be critical to prevent oligopolies from happening. And because without having lots of data, nobody can, you can have the best algorithm, it is of no value, especially when it comes to machine learning. So that is one thing which I think should be done. Regarding getting funding for startups and so on, one thing is if you do something which is useful for Google or somebody like that, and it really changes things in terms of algorithms, then Google will buy the company. Then in which case you will get funding. The other thing is that if you create a system which is very different from existing machine learning, which is also AI, which can disrupt Google, then also you will get funding. So these are the two possibilities, and I hope someday both will happen.
Thank you all, the speakers online and offline, as well as our dear chairs, for being part of this beautiful discussion. At this occasion, we would like to present the chairs with a small token of our gratitude. I invite Dr. Santosh, Ansumali, and Dr. Sunil Sherlekar to kindly receive our gift.
We can now break for high tea. High tea is arranged outside in the AMRL foyer. Our volunteers will guide you to the venue. We'll start with our next session at around 3:45. So I would request you all to be back at the auditorium at 3:45. Thank you.